What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today I'm going to be looking at the Real Clear Politics Senate map. I'm going to tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. But before I get into that, I have a big announcement to make. So I'm extending my giveaway to June 10th. If I get 500 subscribers by June 10th, I will give $25 to 5 of my lucky subscribers. And just to prove that I'm good on my will, so for my last giveaway, obviously I gave $15 to 3 of my subscribers. Only one of my subscribers has claimed it, Carla Gwynacor, so far. But look, I'm good on my promises. So please subscribe by June 10th if you want to be eligible. Tell your friends and family. Okay, so diving right in, right now the Real Clear Politics map has it Republicans at 49 seats in the Senate, Democrats will have 45, and then 6 of these seats are going to be toss ups. And obviously, I did another video on why I really hate the Real Clear Politics electoral map for president, just because it leaves so many states as toss ups when really they aren't. For example, on the presidential level, it said that Colorado and New Mexico were toss ups, and same with Texas and Georgia, states that I really do not think are toss ups, and that I don't think that y'all think are toss ups. But just looking at this map overall, I really like this map. I do think that the Real Clear Politics did a very good job with this map, but I do want to express a few disagreements that I have, and there's only 3 disagreements. So the first is the state of Colorado. The state of Colorado is not a toss up. I do understand that it is held by the Republican incumbent, Cory Gardner. However, Cory Gardner is not going to win re-election. He won in 2014 against a Democratic incumbent that was plagued in scandal. And if you remember, 2014 was a huge uh, Republican wave. In fact, on the national level, the Republicans won the congressional popular vote, which very rarely happens now, just because the Democrats tend to have an advantage with that. And also, Colorado has trended left for the past 6 years. And although Bush won it a few times when he was president, I really do not see Cory Gardner winning re-election. John Hickenlooper, his opponent, is very popular. He was a former governor. He was a former presidential candidate. And although he didn't gain much traction on the national level in Colorado, John Hickenlooper is very well liked. And I honestly think any generic Democrat running against Cory Gardner would win, but having John Hickenlooper in the lead just extends this advantage. So just looking at some polls, John Hickenlooper is up by 18, 17, 11 points. And polls this far out are not going to be accurate, but I mean, when John Hickenlooper is in the lead by 18, 17, 15 points, it is hard to ignore. And obviously, I do not think John Hickenlooper will win by that big of a margin come election day. I'm projecting John Hickenlooper to win by about 9 to 10 points. And I think that all the experts are kind of agreeing. I do think President Trump will help him in Cory Gardner in the state because I do think that President Trump will outperform Cory Gardner, even though I don't even think President Trump will come close to winning the state. We'll probably lose it by 5 to 6 points. So, based on this data, I would even maybe put Colorado into the likely Democratic column. I'll probably just include it in the lean Democratic column if this were what I would be doing. I don't know if I can actually change it. Oh, oops. Let me try to get back here. But anyway, I do think this is a very glaring mistake. Um, Other than that, I think it's pretty good. The other mistake that's a very minor mistake that uh, I was debating about even touching on, but the state of South Carolina. This is obviously Lindsey Graham is trying to hold this seat, but I do not agree with the notion that this is a safe seat. Obviously, they don't even put Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, or Georgia in these safe seats, but they do put states like Oklahoma, Idaho, and Wyoming. Just based on recent polling from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham and his challenger Harrison are even in the polls. And there have been other polls where Harrison is in the margin of error from Lindsey Graham, which is very surprising. Lindsey Graham's a very prominent Republican senator, and fairly popular nationwide. He kind of made a name for himself in the Kavanaugh hearings when he was kind of yelling that this is just so unfair. But in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham is not as popular as he should be. And obviously, I don't think Lindsey Graham will lose the seat. I think he'll probably win by 10 to 15 points. But I would not characterize this seat as safe just yet, just based on the polling data. Obviously, I don't think a lot of I don't think that the poll should hold a lot of weight right now, but still, just because it's so close, I would put South Carolina into the likely GOP column. And the last state that I might have a partial disagreement with is Arizona. Obviously, Colorado is definitely should be in the lean Democratic column. I have no doubts in saying that, and I have no qualms about saying that. I can guarantee at this point that Cory Gardner is not going to win re-election in Colorado, and I do not make many guarantees because a lot of people that make political guarantees are wrong. Arizona, Martha McSally, I explained this in a past video, was not a very good pick for the Republican senator by the governor, Doug Ducey. I gave a summary kind of on the state of Arizona and its history. Obviously, Martha McSally lost by 3 points in 2018. But based on the polling so far from Arizona, Martha McSally is not doing very well. Kelly, who's an astronaut, Mark Kelly, former astronaut, is very popular and is up in the polls a lot more than Kristen Sinema was up in the polls versus Martha McSally in 2018. And obviously, 2018 was a Democratic wave year. I do expect Martha McSally to outperform these margins a little bit. Maybe she'll only lose by 3 to 5 points, but I would definitely say it could be enough to put it in the lean Democratic column. If it's not a lean Democrat, it's definitely a tilt Democratic. Obviously, Real Clear Politics doesn't do tilts; they left six as toss ups. But Arizona is one of these states that could shift into the lean Democratic column if it's not already. Okay, so now moving on to what I really like about this map. And obviously, there's a lot more that I like about this map than I don't like about this map. There's been a lot of other projections where I think they've, like Cook's political report and some other projections where I think they have the Senate completely wrong. So let me kind of compliment Real Clear Politics on what I think they got right compared to some other projections that I think they got wrong. So Alabama, some political forecasters has put this as just like a lean GOP state or tilt GOP or even toss up because they think that the Democrat incumbent Doug Jones is just fairly popular in Alabama. But just knowing Alabama, I have cousins who live in Alabama. Alabama is a likely GOP state. Whether it's Tuberville or Jeff Sessions, Tommy Tuberville or Jeff Sessions, who's the Republican challenger for Doug Jones. Obviously, there's still a pretty contested Republican primary. They will both beat Doug Jones handily. The 2017 special election was a total fluke. Roy Moore was the only Republican in the state of Alabama who could lose a Senate-wide election in the state of Alabama, and he nearly won it. And Tommy Tuberville and Jeff Sessions are not plagued in scandal. Jeff Sessions is very well liked in Alabama. He has a long history there. And Tommy Tuberville is actually doing a little better than Jeff Sessions just because he's endorsed by President Trump. And he's also very popular. For former Auburn coach, the only constituency that I could maybe see him not doing as well as the Alabama football fans. But obviously, I think they will get over that because President Trump has endorsed Tommy Tuberville. And obviously, they will both ride President Trump's coattails in the 2020 election. 2017 was not a presidential election year, and I think Roy Moore even would have won if he were the nominee in 2020, just because having President Trump on the ballot would help. Next up is Michigan. I really like that Michigan is a toss-up state on this go-around. A lot of other political forecasts have this as a lean Democratic state, just because Michigan has two Democratic senators. John James ran against the incumbent Democrat in 2018 and lost by, I think, about 5 or 6 points, a pretty substantial margin. However, John James outperformed all the other statewide races, for example, the governor's race. And I think John James is a very attractive candidate. Um, and I think John James could even outperform Donald Trump. Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 by the slimmest of margins, and it's a toss-up state on the presidential level. So I agree, it's a toss-up state on the Senate level. Donald Trump has outperformed a lot of senators um, overall, but in 2016 there was no state that voted for a or voted for Hillary Clinton and voted Republican, or voted for Donald Trump and voted Democrat on the Senate level. And I definitely think that that's going to change in 2020, especially in a state like Maine, Arizona, or even North Carolina, or Montana, or Michigan. I think there's just a lot of options. Obviously, that trend um, could stay the same. Okay, and lastly, one thing I like about this map is the fact that Montana is a toss-up. A lot of people think this might be a lean GOP, but I think Steve Bullock just has so much political power in Montana. He's a very popular governor. He won by 10 points in 2016 as a Democrat, even when President Trump was on the ballot. President Trump won Montana by 15 points in 2016, and he's going to win Montana again. Some people have it Montana as like a tilt GOP on the presidential stage. President Trump won't have a problem winning Montana at large. Same, but a lot of people have Montana as a toss-up at the governor's race and at the Senate race, and I do think that this is probably wise. Even on the House race, I think it's only a tilt GOP. While I do think Steve Daines, the incumbent, will have an advantage, Bullock is very, very powerful in Montana, and I think he could persuade a lot of kind of moderate Republicans to vote for him just because he was a very popular governor in a Republican leaning state. Okay, and lastly, just some states to watch that I think could change if the political winds change a little bit. Like obviously Arizona, I think we'll have an eye on, and like Colorado as well. But also Kansas, if Kansas is very interesting because there is a Republican primary. And if the right political winds happen and Chris Kobach becomes the Republican nominee, I think Kansas could be very close. Chris Kobach has demonstrated that he can win a statewide race. He ran for governor in 2018 and lost very narrowly. Obviously, Kansas is a reliably Republican state. This surprised me and a lot of political pundits. I do think Chris Kobach would narrowly win the Senate if he were the Republican nominee. It's unclear. I think the House of Representatives guy, I think his last name's Marshall, is actually winning in the primary. So I think if he ends up winning, this will move to the likely GOP. But if Chris Kobach is the nominee, that it'll turn into a toss-up. So I think they're kind of splitting the difference, having it in the lean GOP column. And then next up is the state of Georgia, the special election here. Obviously, this is kind of a very weird election. No two senators from the same race should be on the ballot, but this is a special election, so it's special. But right now, Kelly Loeffler is the Republican incumbent, and she is not going to be the senator here in 2020. It's either going to be Doug Collins or the Democratic challenger, probably Doug Collins. But they have a jungle primary in that probably no one will reach 50% on election day. But I mean, this could be crazy if the Republicans are not unified by Loeffler or Doug Collins, and they have a really strong Democratic challenger. This could easily move into a toss up. But also, if Kelly Loeffler drops out and endorses Doug Collins, this could very easily move into a likely GOP, just like the other election with David Perdue, because Georgia tends to vote pretty reliably Republican, even though it is trending red. Lastly, is Kentucky. A lot of money is going to be poured into Kentucky. It has demonstrated that it can vote Democratic on the statewide level. Obviously, they voted for a Democrat in the 2019 special election, which surprised me and surprised a lot of other people. Mitch McConnell is not a very popular senator, even in Kentucky. I do think he will win with President Trump on the ballot, but a lot of funding will come into this state, and I think it could move to a lean GOP or potentially even a toss-up. There have been some polls where Mitch McConnell is in the margin of error. Okay, so thank you all for watching. Until June 10th, I'm going to be trying to do a video every day to get to that goal of 500 subscribers. At the beginning of the month in June, I'm going to be breaking down my updated presidential forecast, Senate, and House. So be on the lookout for that. And please subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm really trying to get to 500 by June 10th, and then to 1,000 by mid-July. So please subscribe and have a nice day, and tell your friends to subscribe to.